Welcome into the Broncos studio. I am your team reporter and host, Elisa Hernandez, alongside our lead writer on DenverBroncos.com, Aric DiLalla, getting ready for Super Bowl week, where a few Broncos are finalists for the awards at NFL Honors that are happening February 6th, and we are very excited to break down why each guy is so deserving. The finalists include cornerback Pat Surtain II, up for Defensive Player of the Year, rookie quarterback Bo Nix, up for Offensive Rookie of the Year, head coach Sean Payton, a finalist for Head Coach of the Year, and inside linebacker Alex Singleton, a finalist for the Walter Payton NFL Man of the Year.
Listen, it's impressive what this team was able to do.
Yeah.
10 wins this year, first playoff berth since 2015. A lot of these guys deserve these honors, and they earned them, whether it's on the field, on the sideline, obviously, in the case of head coach Sean Payton, and Alex Singleton for his work in the community, despite being out for the year with injury. But, I think it's worth talking about what each of these guys has done, specifically for these on-field honors, to earn these accolades, to earn this nod as a finalist. And I think there's no better place to start, right, than Pat Surtain.
Yeah, I mean, the list for his nominations and awards that he's gotten up to this point is pretty long. But I think for him to cap it off with Defensive Player of the Year, I think it's just the mark that he is who everyone, I mean, at least in the building, believes that he is, and he knows that he is. The work that he's done this season in locking down corners and putting on clinics, I mean, he was going against the best receivers in the NFL, and you wouldn't think that based on stats.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this whole video is about making the case for these guys to win their respective awards. And with Pat Surtain, you look at the fact that he faced 5 Pro Bowl receivers this year from the AFC. He allowed 6 catches. He allowed no touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 56 total yards, and a passer rating of below 10. And so, like you said, against the best of the best, Pat Surtain was getting it done. He was locking these guys down and found a way to give his team a chance in the biggest moments. And then if you just look overall, he allowed the fewest yards of any corner in the league with at least 400 snaps. He allowed he faced the lowest target rate, which means people weren't throwing his way. And then when they did, he allowed the fewest yards per target. So, listen, they weren't thrown at him, and then when they did, they weren't completing the ball on him. And then I think the other thing with Pat, and why, in my mind, he's deserving of being just the second Bronco to ever win AP Defensive Player of the Year, is that he made those big plays this year. He's talked about, how do I make those game-changing plays? And whether it was 2 interceptions, including a 100-yard game-changing, it may be season-changing pick 6 against the Raiders, whether it was an interception against the Colts, a big 4th down stop and an interception against the Panthers, and go on and on. He made those plays this year. And I think when you look around the league, no defensive player had a bigger impact than Pat Surtain. This should be a slam dunk to me.
I agree. And I think when you look at, again, his presence off the field as well, like, he really rallied that defense as well in those key moments. And you go back to that Raiders game where you said he had that 100-yard pick 6. That was such a crucial moment. And because at that point, you might go down, you're trying to get a win at home. And that's what big-time players do. They go and they change the outcome of what a game could be, and he did that every single week. 4 interceptions, I believe he tied a career high for himself, and obviously going to the Pro Bowl as well. So, I mean, he's had a year, and it's hard to really say, who's had a better one than Pat.
Yeah, absolutely. And you look at, obviously, he won PFWA Defensive Player of the Year already, first team All-Pro, AFC Defensive Player of the Year from the 101 Awards. I mean, he's running out of room in that trophy cabinet, but I think there's room for at least one more here.
Yeah.
Pat Surtain absolutely is deserving of, like I said, joining Randy Gradishar as the only players. I mean, you got Champ Bailey, you got Von Miller, you got a lot of great defensive players in the history of this franchise, and Pat Surtain could become just the second player ever to win Defensive Player of the Year for this team.
Yeah, well, we hope that when he wins it, he puts it right on top of his mantle for all of his awards. Now, going on to another finalist is obviously quarterback Bo Nix, up for Rookie of the Year. What a season that Bo Nix has had, not only leading this franchise to the playoffs, but getting 10 wins and really ending a lot of conversations, from getting the first win in Las Vegas to sweeping the Raiders in the regular season, really making an impact on this team. And as head coach Sean Payton said, they have found their guy.
Yeah, absolutely. And listen, I understand that Jaden Daniels is presumably the favorite for this award.
Yeah.
Brock Bowers had an outstanding season. Yeah. He was an all-pro as a
good rookie class
at tight end. This is an outstanding rookie class. You've got some really talented guys. In any other year, Bo Nix probably just runs away with this award.
Yeah.
But our job here is to make the case for Bo this year, and I do think despite everything that Jaden Daniels, despite everything that Brock Bowers accomplished, Bo Nix still has a really strong case. I mean, if you look at just the numbers, and you obviously there's a great narrative around what Jaden Daniels was able to accomplish in Washington, but if you look at just the pure numbers, Bo Nix had the most total touchdowns, the most passing touchdowns, the most completions, the most passing yards. This is a guy that if you look at basically every statistical category, Bo Nix was at the top. He did things like 7 games with multiple touchdown passes and no interceptions. First rookie in NFL history to post that many games. Only the, I believe, 3rd or 4th rookie quarterback ever to win multiple Player of the Week honors. The only rookie ever to have multiple games with at least 300 passing yards, 4 touchdowns, and a 140 quarterback rating.
Right.
And so, listen, I understand that there's a storyline to each of these awards, but if you look at the pure numbers here and the way that Bo Nix was a threat with his arm, with his legs, and even catching a touchdown, he's certainly deserving of this award. And really, once he got it going after week 2 or 3, he threw that first touchdown pass in week 4. After that, he was right up there with the top quarterbacks of any experience level in the NFL. I believe he finished 6th in total touchdowns for all quarterbacks. So this is a guy that is more than deserving of this award.
Yeah, I think one of the things that you can say about Bo as well is his leadership, that he has to come into this room. He was also a captain on this team as a rookie. And I think his presence that he had in the locker room, being able to lead these guys, his offensive line, they always talk about his toughness, his grit. And I think when you look at the rookie, that you have to kind of factor in all those things. Yes, the numbers matter, the wins matter, but it's also like the total package. And I feel like Bo Nix really made that case for himself, showing like no moment was too big for him. And even after the tough losses, you were still talking about how great his performance was and how he was able to really rally, kind of making a drive push late in the game as well. So I think when you kind of put that together, it ties into what head coach Sean Payton was able to do this year and really kind of manage a rookie season, because it is hard. You kind of look at, you ask yourself, when are these rookies going to hit that rookie wall? And for Bo, he just kind of kept smashing through them. And I think a big part of that is the way that your head coach kind of lets you play free while also, helping you grow this season. I think we really saw that in the relationship between him and Sean Payton.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think Bo Nix is not a finalist for Rookie of the Year without Sean Payton. Yeah. And obviously, the way Bo Nix played helped Sean Payton, and the way the rest of this team played helped Sean Payton become a finalist for Coach of the Year. Coach of the Year, to me, Elisa, is one of the most interesting awards because how do you want to quantify it, right? Should it just be...
What does it mean?
Should it just be the head coach for the best team in football?
Right.
It's often given to a team or the coach of a team that exceeded expectations. And to me, as you make the case for Sean Payton, that's where the case begins, right? Is that this is a team that externally, a lot of members of the national media did not expect much of this team. Nope. We saw a lot of rankings out there where they ranked the skill position group as 32nd. They wondered, did the Broncos reach getting Bo Nix with the 12th overall pick, the 6th quarterback off the board? There was a lot of conversation coming out of this offseason, going into training camp, where a lot of people did not believe in the Broncos' potential this year. For Sean Payton to navigate that, get his players to buy in, and then not only get the players that are here to buy in, but also realize the reality of the situation, which is navigating a difficult salary cap situation in 2024. He did all that. He did it with a rookie quarterback that started all 17 regular season games. I thought he managed that process really well in terms of making Bo Nix earn the starting quarterback job. It really got guys to buy in. The Broncos found a way throughout the year to bounce back to tough losses. They never lost more than 2 games in a row. They ended up, I believe, just dropping 2 games at home all year, but they finished on a nice stretch there, winning some really crucial games. He got these guys ready to go all year, and I think it just goes back to the expectations. When you look at externally, people thought, is this team going to win more than 5 or 6 games? They won 10 games. They were well ahead of schedule in terms of what most people expected, and they made the playoffs. To me, that's what a Coach of the Year performance looks like. And
I think adding on to that, like you mentioned, the noise, the culture, but you're coming into a situation where you're changing the culture of this team, and the way that you got a rookie class offense kind of come in and really produce and bring out the best in those guys. That's also another big part of it. Like, you're not only growing the players that you currently have, but you're also fostering the new talent, and you're making this team a destination place where other players are going to want to come play for you, because Sean Payton's resume speaks for itself. But I think when you come into a situation like this, where you're revamping the culture, you're revamping the expectations, to me, the biggest thing that Payton was able to do this season, like you mentioned, was block out the noise. And you would think that these players didn't have social media, didn't look at the news, because they were always locked in and they were there for each other. They played for each other and they played for the guy next to them. And I think that's a big culture that, it's big credit to Sean Payton, obviously his coaching staff and everything he was able to do. And I think it all leads into just the leadership on this team, from, the Garrett Bulls to the Bo Nixes of the team, to the Pat Surtains. I think when you look at the way they were all able to all come together, you manage all of those players together. I think that Sean Payton did a really good job. And again, that's why they had a winning season, 10 wins, a playoff berth. And I think the excitement of Broncos country really kind of came back together this season in particular.
Yeah, absolutely. And all three of these guys are deserving of this award. Obviously hope that they all win. We'll see what happens here during NFL honors, but listen, an incredible season, and now you build for more. But one trip to the red carpet real quick to maybe pick up some hardware before we move on to next year.
Yeah, we love to see it. And fun fact for Alex Singleton, who again is up for Walter Payton NFL Man of the Year, the last Bronco to win that was in 1992, and that was John Elway. So, they could add a couple more, like I said, hardware to the mantle, but we're really excited that obviously we have a lot of Broncos headed to New Orleans for NFL honors that will be on February 6th. And of course, we will be on the red carpet bringing you all of that coverage.